What if I told you that the darkest corner of your home could become the most lush, vibrant space in your entire house? Most people have no idea that while they are killing plant after plant, trying to force sun-loving species into dim rooms, there is a whole world of incredible plants out there that actually prefer low light. Plants that thrive in offices, bathrooms, north-facing rooms, and hallways with almost no direct sun at all. And today, I am going to show you 20 of them that will completely change the way you think about indoor gardening forever. Stick around, because number 7 on this list has survived in the same pot, in the same dark corner, for over 20 years in documented cases, and it actually grows faster when you stop watering it so much. And number 18 is so effective at removing toxins from indoor air that NASA included it in a landmark clean air study. If you want to grow a beautiful, thriving indoor garden no matter how little light your space gets, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell, because we post new videos every week here at Evergreen Garden, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. All right, let us get into it. Here are 20 indoor plants that thrive in low light, ranked from impressive to absolutely incredible. 1. Pothos, the unkillable green waterfall. Let us start at the beginning, not just because pothos is number 1 on this list, but because if you have ever killed a houseplant and given up on indoor gardening entirely, pothos is the plant that should bring you back. Epipremnum aureum is one of the most adaptable plants on the planet. It tolerates low light, irregular watering, drafts, dry air, and neglect with a cheerfulness that borders on supernatural. The trailing vines can grow several feet in a single season, cascading from shelves and hanging baskets in waves of glossy green, gold, or variegated leaves. Here is what makes pothos special from a science standpoint. Studies confirm it is among the most effective houseplants for removing volatile organic compounds, including formaldehyde and benzene, from indoor air. These are real toxins that off-gas from furniture, flooring, and paint, and pothos quietly absorbs them around the clock. Here is the traditional indoor use. Place it on a high shelf and let it trail. Put it in a hanging basket in a windowless bathroom. Set it on a desk under fluorescent office lighting. It handles all of these equally well. Water it when the top inch of soil feels dry. Feed it once a month in spring and summer, and it will reward you with explosive growth. The reason pothos is so often overlooked by serious gardeners is that it is too easy. It does not have the exotic appeal of rarer plants. But for anyone who wants real lush greenery in genuinely dark spaces, nothing beats it. Think of it as the foundation of your low-light indoor garden. Everything else builds on what pothos proves is possible. 2. Snake plant Sansevieria, the plant that thrives on neglect. Here is a detail most people miss about snake plants. They actually store water in their thick, upright leaves, which means they can survive weeks without attention. Dracaena trifasciata, still commonly sold under its old name Sansevieria, is one of the few plants that releases oxygen at night instead of during the day, making it uniquely suited for bedrooms. It tolerates everything: deep shade, drought, irregular temperatures, being root-bound in a small pot. NASA included it in its famous clean air study, finding it effective at filtering indoor pollutants including formaldehyde, benzene, xylene, and toluene. But here is what genuinely sets snake plant apart. It thrives in the kind of neglect that kills most plants. In fact, overwatering is the #1 way people kill them. In low-light conditions, it can go 3 to 6 weeks between waterings in winter. The less fuss, the better it does. Traditional indoor use is beautifully simple. Put it in a corner, any corner. Water it once every 2 to 3 weeks. Walk away. Come back to a plant that has quietly grown taller and more structural, while everything else around it demanded attention. The reason snake plant got pushed to the back of garden centers is that it became so ubiquitous it lost its mystique. But ubiquitous for a reason is just another way of saying it works. It is the plant that looks sculptural, cleans your air, and requires almost nothing in return. 3. ZZ plant Zamioculcas zamiofolia, the glossy, drought-proof beauty. The ZZ plant looks like it should be high maintenance. The leaves are so perfectly glossy, so uniformly dark green, that people assume it must need regular attention to stay that way. But Zamioculcas zamiofolia is one of the most drought-tolerant, low-light-tolerant houseplants that exists. It stores water in thick underground rhizomes, essentially giving it a built-in reservoir that lets it survive extended dry periods. In its native environment of Eastern Africa, It evolved to handle seasons of drought followed by sudden rainfall. Your dim living room is, by comparison, a paradise. Here is what the science says. ZZ plants are among the slowest to show stress in low-light conditions, precisely because their root system acts as a backup power source. Even when light is minimal, those rhizomes keep the plant alive and slowly growing. Traditional indoor use involves almost laughable simplicity. Water it once every 2 to 3 weeks in summer, once a month in winter. Never put it in direct sun. Give it any indirect or ambient light. It will hold its deep green gloss indefinitely. The reason ZZ plants got overlooked for years is that their growth rate is slow. Impatient gardeners moved on. But slow growth in a low-light plant means it stays manageable, stays beautiful, and never outgrows its space. Think of it as the plant that looks like it takes effort, but secretly asks for almost nothing. 4. Peace lily, Spathiphyllum, the blooming air purifier. Most low-light plants give you foliage. Peace lily gives you flowers, even in nearly dark rooms, which makes it genuinely remarkable. Spathiphyllum produces elegant white blooms that emerge from deep green foliage, and it does this without needing direct sun at all. It was one of the top performers in the NASA Clean Air study, specifically noted for its ability to filter out ammonia, a compound common in cleaning products and found in very few other houseplants' filtration profiles. Here is what makes peace lily especially useful as an indoor plant. It communicates. When it needs water, the leaves droop noticeably. Water it, and within a few hours they perk back up. It is essentially the most transparent plant you can own. No guessing required. The traditional indoor placement is anywhere that gets ambient light from a window without direct sun hitting the leaves. Bathrooms work beautifully, because peace lily also appreciates the humidity. Offices thrive when a peace lily is present, because it not only cleans the air, but provides the psychological lift of seeing something bloom in an otherwise sterile environment. The reason peace lily became a cliché gift plant is because it genuinely works everywhere. But underneath the reputation as a default present is one of the most functional, beautiful low-light plants you can grow. It is the plant that blooms in the dark and cleans the air while it does it. 5. Cast iron plant, Aspidistra elacer, the Victorian survivor. The cast iron plant earned its name in the 1800s, when Victorian parlors were filled with coal smoke, drafts, and gas lamp fumes. Everything died in those conditions. Aspidistra elacer survived. It was so reliable that it became a staple of period fiction, showing up as the unshakable background plant in homes across England. Modern science confirms what Victorian households knew empirically. Aspidistra has an exceptionally low light compensation point, meaning it can photosynthesize and grow in light levels that leave most plants simply struggling to stay alive. Here is the practical reality. This plant tolerates deep shade, temperature fluctuations from near freezing to warm summer rooms, irregular watering, and dry indoor air. It grows slowly, but it grows steadily, and the long, arching dark green leaves make it one of the most structurally elegant plants for dim corners. Traditional indoor use is almost hilariously low maintenance. Dust the leaves occasionally so they can absorb maximum ambient light. Water monthly in winter, every couple of weeks in summer. Feed lightly once a season. That is genuinely all it needs. The reason cast iron plant fell out of fashion is that it is slow and undramatic. There is no rapid growth to get excited about, no cascading vines, no surprising blooms, but slow, reliable, structural beauty in spaces where nothing else survives is exactly what most homes need. It is the plant that asks almost nothing and outlasts everything. 6. Dracaena, the air cleaning statement plant. Dracaena is a huge family with dozens of varieties, and almost all of them share the same core trait. They handle low light with ease, while providing dramatic architectural foliage that genuinely transforms a room. Dracaena marginata, with its thin, spiky, red-edged leaves, gives you a sculptural tree-like form. Dracaena fragrans, the corn plant, produces wide, glossy leaves that resemble tropical foliage. Both were included in NASA's Clean Air study, and both were rated among the best performers for removing trichloroethylene and benzene from indoor environments. Here is what makes Dracaena reliable for low-light spaces. It evolved in the understory of African forests, where dense canopy overhead meant filtered, indirect, often minimal light was the norm. Your living room, even a north-facing one, is essentially recreating its natural habitat. Traditional indoor use involves placing it where you want height, Dracaena brings vertical drama to corners and entryways that other plants cannot provide. Water it when the top half of the soil is dry. Never let it sit in water, and keep it away from heating vents. It will reward you with slow, steady, dramatic growth. The reason Dracaena gets overlooked is that it looks tropical, and people assume it needs tropical sun. It does not. The height, the structure, and the air filtering performance make it one of the highest value plants on this entire list. 7. Chinese evergreen, Aglaonema, the dark corner specialist. And here we are at number 7, the one I teased at the beginning, the plant with documented cases of thriving in the same dim corner for 2 decades. Aglaonema is genuinely extraordinary in its low light tolerance. It is one of the few plants where the darker the leaf, the better it handles low light. The deep green, almost burgundy varieties are specifically adapted to minimal light conditions and will outperform lighter variegated types in dim rooms. Here is what the science confirms. Chinese evergreen has one of the widest light tolerance ranges of any houseplant studied. From almost no natural light, thriving under fluorescent office bulbs, to bright indirect light, Aglaonema adjusts its photosynthetic rate to match available conditions. This adaptability is the reason it has been a staple of commercial spaces, offices, hotels, and airports for decades. And here is the watering truth most people get wrong. Aglaonema in low light needs far less water than you think. In a dim room, the soil dries very slowly. Overwatering is the main cause of problems. Let the top 2 inches of soil dry completely before watering again. Traditional indoor use is exactly what you would expect from a corner specialist. Pick your darkest spot, put the plant there, water it cautiously. Come back in 6 months to find it fuller, more beautiful, and entirely unbothered by the conditions that have killed a dozen other plants in the same space. The reason Chinese evergreen gets underestimated is that it is not fashionable in the way some newer tropical trends are, but fashion changes. The plant that actually survives and thrives in your real home lighting conditions is worth more than any trendy species that needs a greenhouse. Think of it as the dark corner specialist that has been quietly winning for 20 years while everyone else gave up. 8. Heartleaf philodendron, the rapid-growing companion. Philodendron hederaceum grows fast, trails beautifully, and handles low light with ease, making it one of the most satisfying beginner plants on this list. The heart-shaped leaves are a deep, lush green, and the vines can reach several feet in a single growing season, even in low-light conditions. Unlike some slow-growing low-light plants, philodendron gives you visible progress, which matters for keeping enthusiasm alive in new gardeners. Here is what distinguishes it from pothos, which it resembles. Philodendron leaves are thinner, matte rather than glossy, and the plant tends to hold a more upright vining habit. It is slightly more tolerant of humidity fluctuations and tends to push out new leaves faster under the same conditions. Traditional indoor use involves the same approach as pothos, trailing from shelves, climbing a moss pole, or growing in a hanging basket. It thrives in bathrooms, bedrooms, and offices. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. Wipe leaves occasionally to keep them dust-free and absorbing maximum ambient light. The reason heartleaf philodendron gets lumped in with beginner plants and dismissed by experienced growers is that it is common and easy. But common and easy is exactly what a low-light space needs. It is the plant that never lets you down. 9. Spider plant, Chlorophytum comosum, the cheerful, child-safe cascader. Spider plant is one of the very few houseplants that is completely safe for homes with cats, dogs, and children, which immediately makes it remarkable. Chlorophytum comosum produces arching green and white striped leaves and, once mature, sends out long runners with miniature baby plants at the tips. It is one of the top performers in indoor air quality research. Studies confirm it reduces formaldehyde and carbon monoxide levels in enclosed spaces, and it does this consistently in low-light conditions where other filtering plants struggle. Here is the parenting bonus. Spider plant propagates itself freely. Those baby plants, called spiderettes, can be snipped off, rooted in water, and potted up within weeks. One plant becomes 5, which become 20. For anyone who wants to fill multiple rooms with low-maintenance greenery without spending money, spider plant is the gift that keeps multiplying. Traditional indoor use covers hanging baskets, where the cascading spiderettes create a genuinely dramatic visual display, and tabletop pots where the arching foliage softens hard surfaces. Water regularly, but allow drainage. Occasional brown leaf tips indicate dry air, which a light misting will address. The reason spider plant gets dismissed is that it was popular in the 1970s and acquired a dated reputation. But effective, safe, air-cleaning, self-propagating plants do not go out of style. They just wait for people to stop being snobbish about decades and start caring about results. 10. Boston Fern Nephrolepis exaltata, the humidity lover for dark bathrooms. Boston fern is the plant for anyone with a dark, humid bathroom and nothing that will grow in it. Nephrolepis exaltata is not the most forgiving plant on this list, but in the right conditions, it produces some of the most lush, full, vibrantly green foliage of any indoor species. Here is what it needs. Consistent moisture in the soil, never waterlogged but never allowed to dry out completely. Humidity above 50%, which a bathroom naturally provides. And low to medium indirect light, which a bathroom typically delivers as well. The fronds can reach 2 feet in length, arching out from the center of the plant in cascading waves that are genuinely spectacular in the right space. Boston fern also has documented air filtering properties, performing particularly well at removing formaldehyde and xylene. The traditional indoor placement is a bathroom shelf or hanging basket in a bathroom with a frosted window. The plant gets its light, its humidity, and its consistent temperature fluctuations are minimal. In that environment, it thrives with regular watering and monthly feeding. The reason Boston fern has a difficult reputation is that people try to grow it in dry, centrally heated rooms, and it drops fronds immediately. Matched to the right environment though, specifically that humid, dim bathroom that nothing else will survive in, it is extraordinary. It is the plant that turns a functional room into a spa. Midpoint call to action. Real quick, I want to pause here because a lot of people ask me where to find the specific varieties we talk about and how to set up pots and planters that actually let these plants thrive long term. That is a completely valid question because the right container, the right soil mix, and the right positioning genuinely changes how well these plants perform in your home. I have linked everything I recommend in the description below. Now let us get back to the list because the second half is where things get really interesting. 11. Pothos Nijoy and Marble Queen varieties. The designer upgrade. Most people know the standard golden pothos, but the specialty varieties, particularly Pothos Enjoy and Marble Queen, offer dramatically different aesthetics while maintaining the same extraordinary low-light adaptability. Marble Queen features heavily variegated white and green leaves that look almost painted. Nijoy has cleaner, more graphic white patches on smaller leaves. Both retain the core pothos trait of thriving in minimal light, though lightly variegated varieties push their best color in slightly brighter, indirect conditions. Here is the design opportunity these varieties provide. They bring pattern and contrast into spaces where low light typically limits you to plain green. The white variegation reads as bright even in dim rooms, creating the visual impression of light even when actual light is minimal. Traditional indoor use elevates these to design focal points rather than background plants. A trailing marble queen on a dark shelf creates the same visual pop as a piece of art. A hanging enjoy in a dim entryway gives the space life without demanding anything from you. The reason specialty pothos varieties were overlooked until recently is that standard golden pothos was always available and always cheap. But as indoor plant culture has grown more design conscious, these varieties have become some of the most sought-after plants on the market. They are the upgrade that asks for nothing extra. 12. Rubber plant Ficus elastica, the bold, sculptural tree. Ficus elastica is where low-light plants get genuinely dramatic. The deep burgundy or dark green leaves are large, glossy, and structurally bold in a way that smaller plants cannot match. A mature rubber plant in a dim corner becomes an architectural feature of the room. Here is the low-light reality. Rubber plant prefers bright, indirect light but is remarkably tolerant of lower conditions. In dim rooms, it grows more slowly, which is actually an advantage indoors, keeping it manageable. The deep burgundy varieties, particularly Ficus elastica burgundy, hold their rich color even in low light, which most burgundy-leafed plants cannot do. Studies confirm ficus species contribute meaningfully to indoor air quality, filtering particulate matter and volatile organic compounds. The large leaf surface area means more filtering per plant compared to smaller leafed species. Traditional indoor use involves placing it where you want a visual anchor, a corner, a statement position beside a dark sofa, a spot in an entryway that needs vertical height, water when the top inch of soil is dry. Wipe the large leaves monthly to keep them clean and maximally efficient at capturing ambient light. The reason rubber plant fell out of fashion is that Ficus benjamina, The weeping fig became notorious for dropping leaves, and people transferred that anxiety to all ficus species. Rubber plant does not behave like its finicky cousin. It is the bold, steady, sculptural option that most people have been avoiding for entirely the wrong reasons. 13. Parlor, palm, Chamaedorea elegans, the true indoor palm. Most palms are tropical sun lovers that die in ordinary indoor conditions. Parlor palm is the rare exception, and it has been proving that for over a century. Chamaedorea elegans was the go-to indoor palm of Victorian and Edwardian homes precisely because it genuinely tolerates low light and the dry indoor air of heated rooms. It produces graceful, arching fronds from a central point, creating that unmistakable tropical palm shape in spaces where no other palm would survive. Here is what makes it genuinely special. It is one of the most efficient palms at purifying indoor air. In the NASA study and subsequent research, parlor palm was specifically noted for its ability to filter benzene and trichloroethylene while requiring far less light than any other palm variety tested. Traditional indoor use puts it in low-traffic corners, dining rooms, and dim entryways where you want tropical atmosphere without tropical maintenance. It grows slowly, staying manageable for years in the same pot. Water regularly, allowing the top inch to dry between waterings. Occasional misting prevents tip browning in very dry rooms. The reason parlor palm gets overlooked is that people assume indoor palms are impossible. That assumption is correct for every other palm. It is wrong for this one. It is the tropical atmosphere solution for every room you assumed could never feel like a resort. 14. Bird's nest fern, Asplenium nidus, the glossy, architectural fern. Bird's nest fern looks almost unreal. The wide, rippled fronds are an unusually vivid green and emerge from a central rosette in a way that genuinely resembles a bird's nest. Asplenium nidus is also, critically, a fern that does not require the constant humidity demands of most fern species. Here is the difference. Bird's nest fern grows naturally on tree trunks and rocks in tropical forests, where it captures moisture from air and rain. It is adapted to indirect light, high humidity, and warm temperatures, but it handles ordinary bathroom or kitchen conditions far better than Boston fern or other finicky species. The fronds can grow up to 2 feet long indoors in good low-light conditions, creating a bold structural display that is unlike most low-light foliage options. The surface of the leaves is smooth and glossy, which helps it capture and use ambient light efficiently. Traditional indoor use places it in bright to medium indirect light, making it ideal for rooms that get some window light but no direct sun. Kitchens and bathrooms work especially well. Water around the edges of the rosette rather than into the center, which can cause rot. The reason bird's nest fern gets passed over is that the broad, flat leaves look too simple to some collectors. But simplicity in this form means structural elegance, easy care, and bold visual impact in rooms that need a confident focal point. 15. Golden barrel cactus alternative, Haworthia, the succulent that actually works in low light. Most succulents are sun lovers that shrivel and stretch in low light. Haworthia is the rare succulent exception, genuinely thriving in the kind of indirect light that indoor spaces provide. Haworthiopsis and Haworthia species produce tight architectural rosettes of thick leaves, often with translucent windowed tips that allow light to penetrate deep into the leaf where photosynthesis occurs. This structure is a low-light adaptation. The plant is essentially built to capture and use minimal available light as efficiently as possible. Here is the practical benefit. You get the succulent aesthetic, the neat rosette form, the thick architectural leaves, without the demand for 6 hours of direct sunlight that most succulents require. Haworthia, on a windowsill that gets indirect light, or even under a grow bulb, will maintain its tight form and rich color indefinitely. Traditional indoor use is on shelves, desks, and windowsills with indirect light. Water sparingly, every 2 to 3 weeks in summer, and monthly in winter. Allow the soil to dry completely between waterings. These are still succulents, so wet roots are the main danger. The reason Haworthia gets overlooked in low-light conversations is that succulents have a sun-loving reputation that sticks to the whole category. Breaking from that assumption opens up a genuinely unique option for people who love the look of succulents but live in dim spaces. 16. Lucky bamboo, Dracaena sanderiana, the dim room survivor that needs no soil. Lucky bamboo is one of the most unusual entries on this list because it does not need soil at all. Dracaena sanderiana grows happily in a vase of water with some pebbles for support, tolerating very low light conditions that would stress most other houseplants. Here is what makes it genuinely functional in dark spaces. Lucky bamboo evolved in the shaded forest floors of tropical Africa, where the canopy overhead blocks nearly all direct sunlight. Low-light indoor environments are essentially replicating its natural habitat. In traditional feng shui practice, lucky bamboo is placed in specific orientations for different intentions, which is why it is sold in twists, spirals, and bundles of specific stock numbers. But beyond the cultural practice, the plant functions as a genuinely reliable, nearly zero-maintenance green presence in dark corners, dark desktops, and dim bathrooms. Traditional care could not be simpler. Keep the roots submerged in a few inches of filtered water. Change the water every 2 to 3 weeks. Keep it out of direct sun, which will burn the leaves. Feed with a very diluted liquid fertilizer once every couple of months. The reason lucky bamboo gets dismissed by serious gardeners is that it is sold in gift shops alongside candles and incense. But a plant that survives in nothing but water, in near darkness, for years at a time, is worth more than its novelty reputation suggests. It is the simplest, lowest commitment way to keep something living and green in your darkest spaces. 17. Calathea, prayer plant family, the living room art piece. Calathea produces some of the most spectacular foliage of any houseplant on Earth. The leaves are painted with stripes, spots, and patterns in combinations of dark green, pale green, white, pink, and deep purple that look genuinely hand-designed. And all of that beauty happens in low light. Calathea, now largely reclassified under Goa Persia, evolved in tropical forest understories where filtered, indirect, diffused light is the norm. Direct sun bleaches the intricate leaf patterns. Low light actually preserves them. Here is what people find challenging. Calathea is more particular than most plants on this list. It wants consistent moisture without soggy roots, high humidity, and distilled or rainwater rather than tap water, which can cause brown leaf tips. Get those conditions right, and it is a spectacularly rewarding plant. Get them wrong, and it protests visibly. Traditional indoor use places Calathea in bright to medium indirect light conditions. A room that gets daylight through a window but no direct sun hitting the plant is ideal. Bathrooms with natural light are excellent. Regular misting or a humidifier nearby addresses the humidity need. The reason Calathea has a difficult reputation is that people treat it like other low-light plants and skip the humidity and water quality requirements. Meet those needs and it becomes the most visually extraordinary plant in your home. It is the living art piece that moves because Calathea leaves actually fold upward at night, earning the prayer plant name, and unfold again each morning. 18. Dracaena, Janet Craig, and the NASA connection, the office plant that cleans the air. And here we are at number 18, the plant I teased at the beginning, the one NASA specifically identified for indoor air purification. Dracaena daramensis. Janet Craig was among the highest performing plants in NASA's landmark 1989 Clean Air Study, specifically noted for removing trichloroethylene at rates that outperformed many other commonly tested species. Trichloroethylene is a compound found in lacquers, varnishes, and adhesives, and it is present in virtually every newly decorated or newly furnished home. Here is what makes Janet Craig specifically significant beyond the NASA finding. It handles extremely low light, lower than most Dracaena varieties, making it one of the few air-purifying plants that can actually function in office environments with fluorescent lighting and no natural windows. The dark green, sword-shaped leaves grow in dense rosettes from a central stem, and the plant develops a cane-like trunk as it matures, giving it a sculptural tree-like quality over time. It is one of the few plants that genuinely looks better as it ages in indoor conditions. Traditional indoor use places it in offices, conference rooms, dark hallways, and commercial spaces where natural light is minimal. Water when the top half of the soil is dry. Feed lightly once a month during spring and summer. It is slow growing, which means minimal repotting, minimal maintenance, and maximum long-term value. The reason this specific variety gets overlooked is that it looks similar to other Dracaenas, and most people do not know which variety they are buying. Seeking out Janet Craig specifically, or confirming the dark-leafed variety, gets you the air filtering performance that earned its place in a NASA research paper. 19. Monstera deliciosa, in low light, the iconic leaf in darker conditions. Monstera deliciosa is one of the most recognizable plants of the modern era. The split, fenestrated leaves are everywhere in design right now, and for good reason. But here is what most people do not know. Monstera handles lower light conditions far better than its tropical reputation suggests. In its native Central American habitat, Monstera grows in forest understories, climbing tree trunks toward the canopy. At lower levels, light is minimal and filtered. The fenestrations in the leaves, those famous splits and holes, are actually thought to be a light adaptation, allowing light to pass through to lower leaves rather than being fully blocked. Here is the low-light reality. In dim conditions, Monstera grows more slowly and produces smaller leaves without deep fenestration. In medium indirect light, it produces the large, deeply split leaves it is known for. For a plant this dramatic, even the smaller, slow-growing, low-light version is visually impressive. Traditional indoor use places it on the floor in a corner with some ambient light. Give it a moss pole to climb, and it will reward you with increasingly dramatic foliage as it matures. Water when the top inch of soil is dry. Wipe the leaves monthly to maximize their ability to absorb available light. The reason Monstera is not always recommended for low light is that it performs noticeably better in brighter conditions. But for a plant this beautiful, even a slower growing, slightly simpler leafed version is worth having in a room that cannot offer more. It is the iconic statement plant that will work with whatever light you can give it. 20. Staghorn Fern, Platycerium, the living wall trophy. And here we are at number 20, the one I saved for last because it may be the most spectacular plant on this entire list, and almost nobody knows it can handle low light. Platycerium bifurcatum grows mounted on wood or in hanging baskets, with large antler-shaped fronds that spread outward from a central shield of flat basal fronds. It looks like something that belongs in a botanical garden or a luxury hotel lobby, and it grows in dim, indirect light with remarkable success. Here is the key to understanding staghorn fern. It is an epiphyte, meaning in nature it grows attached to tree trunks and branches rather than in soil. In those conditions, it gets filtered light through the canopy, irregular moisture from rain and humidity, and absolutely no direct afternoon sun, which would scorch it. Your shaded indoor wall or hanging position is perfectly replicating its natural environment. Here is what makes this plant extraordinary as a display piece. Unlike every other plant on this list, staghorn fern is mounted rather than potted. You attach it to a wooden board with sphagnum moss, hang it on a wall, and water it by soaking the basal frond or the moss directly. It becomes living wall art that grows and changes over time. Traditional care involves soaking the entire mount in water for 15 to 20 minutes every 1 to 2 weeks, or misting generously. Feed with a diluted liquid fertilizer once a month in growing season. Keep it out of direct sun and cold drafts. The reason staghorn fern is almost unknown in mainstream houseplant culture is that it does not fit the standard pot and soil model. People are unfamiliar with mounting, unfamiliar with epiphytes, and move on to easier options. But for anyone willing to try something genuinely different, staghorn fern transforms a dim wall from dead space into the most stunning feature of the entire room. Sometimes the most dramatic effect comes from the plant that asks you to think differently about where and how plants can grow. And this plant, the living trophy on your wall, thriving in low light, soaking up occasional water and asking for nothing else, is the perfect reminder that the darkest corners of your home have been waiting for you to fill them with life. Outro: 20 plants, every one of them proven in low light conditions, every one of them capable of turning the darkest, most neglected space in your home into something genuinely beautiful. Here is what I want you to take away from today. The idea that you cannot have plants because your home does not get enough light is simply not true. It is a belief based on experience with the wrong plants in the wrong spaces. The right plants, matched to your real conditions, will thrive, not survive, thrive. And the science backs this up. From NASA air quality research to documented decade-long growth in commercial spaces to the evolutionary biology of forest understory species, the evidence is consistent. These plants were built for low light. Your dim apartment, your north-facing office, your windowless bathroom is not a plant graveyard. It is a habitat for some of the most interesting, beautiful, and functional plants on the planet. Before you go, I want to make sure you have a real path forward. In the description below, I have linked everything you need to get started. Specific variety recommendations, the soil mixes that work best for low light conditions, where overwatering is the main risk, and the container styles that look best with trailing versus upright versus mounted plants. Drop a comment below and tell me which plant on this list surprised you the most. Are you team air purifiers, team trailing vines, or team statement plants? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing which plants people are excited to try. If you are not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We post new videos every week covering indoor gardening, plant care, and everything you need to grow something beautiful wherever you are. See you in the next one.